A lot of players know that this is a very busy time in War of the Visions. There's a lot of limited units. There's a lot of 100 cost units. So what better time than now to actually put out a roadmap that we can look at together to see what's coming up in the next 6 weeks and decide how our Visior should be saved or spent. Let's take a look at the image together that I've created here. So this is the planning guide for the rest of April and then all of May in 2023. We can see that we're maybe going to be getting the winter units next week. There is a blank spot in the schedule, but this is where they came in JP, and it would make sense that we got the winter Ravies, but we did not get her upgrade. Then we would likely see Full Metal Alchemist, although I don't know if that's what's going to happen. And the reason is that the Final Fantasy VII Remake and the Global Fest banners don't end until May 2nd. So this whole thing could be shifted. Maybe we see multiple weeks where we get some Crystal Warrior reruns, we get some winter reruns, and then Full Metal Alchemist actually starts in May. But if we're looking just at what happened in JP, this is what it's going to be. We're going to have the last week of May will be the Edward and Alphonse week with a vision card, but we'll also get Transcendence and rerun banners for Cetia and Ranan. Then in heading into May, we'll be getting the Sterne and Roy banners, as well as another vision card for Full Metal Alchemist. Now, another option, if we're looking at how things could actually change, we can see that in global, we got Amnelis a little bit early in order to fill a gap. So there's very possible that week 3 in April would be the winter units, and that week 4 would be the light Stern 100 cost, and then we would see the Full Metal Alchemist units filling out the month of May. But if we do stick to this JP schedule, we'll see the week 1, of course, is the Roy and Stern. Week 2 will be King Bradley, which is highly anticipated, a very good unit, as well as the Raid for Full Metal Alchemist and the Dark Bahamut Esper and VC. Week 3 would be Raegan, and week 4 would be Raegan's Vision card, but we'd also get rerun banners for Astrius, Velis, and Jeume, as well as their Transcendence upgrades. Now, the Transcendence upgrades for all of the Warriors of the Crystal are all quite good. Honestly, they all get some really neat stuff, and I think they're all worth looking at. So look at all these 100 costs, these limited units. It's a busy time period, so you need to know what you're going to do, and hopefully this video will help you. Let's follow the assumption that we're just going to stick exactly to what JP got and think that next week is going to be these winter units. So are they worth pulling on? Are the vision cards worth pulling on? Winter Ravies is the one that I think is the most worth it if you were to go for them. But keep in mind that the winter units do come back, and there's going to be more opportunities to actually pull for them. But when we look at Winter Ravies, her Transcendence is pretty solid. We really wanted it when she initially came out because she gets 20 defense, she gets 15% single target resistance, but also her vertical cut will now restore 10 AP upon use. This is very useful for cost limited content, and she's also just a really solid unit in general. It's a good opportunity for people that want to play ice and that are new to the game to grab a tank that they could pair with Raegan down the road. If you're not looking to play ice, or maybe you just want to save your Visior, she's pretty easy to skip, and again, she will come back. We can talk about the other winter units. So we've got Mashery, who gets a full dispel on her lock-on jump. We have Ramada, who gets a power upgrade, Venera, who gets a bit of power and a bit of survivability, and then Victoria and Luartha, who both get upgrades into their accuracy. Now, I think Luartha is the most interesting here because she gets a big 30% accuracy boost, but Victoria also gets a 15% accuracy boost and is a water unit. Her accuracy isn't tremendously high to begin with though, so I mean, it really depends. If you're looking for water units, maybe you're looking for more accuracy from Luartha, and that's going to help you in this evasion meta. But I will tell you that a lot of the upcoming units have very high accuracy and plus 30% hit chance attacks. So if you're looking for accurate units to fight evade, they are coming. At the end of the day, I think that Winter Ravi is a consideration for some players, and then otherwise the rest of these units are going to be for dedicated fans that want to pull and use units that they like. As for the vision cards, I think that the Winter Ravies one is one that I'm actually going to be considering to get because I'm actually very, very interested in making a great sword team. So I think I might look into that. If you're not into any of those weapons, which are great sword, katana, and book, then I probably wouldn't get it. However, a lot of people are Sephiroth fans and we can suddenly pull 3 katana cards right now. So it might be worth looking into. We also have a gift like no other, which is a wind card that's pretty strong with a very strong vision ability. If you are into PvE, you will want this 3rd times a charm vision ability. Otherwise, you could safely skip it. And then finally, Winter Holiday Party is an absolute staple AoE resistance card. It's a very strong water card in general, but a lot of new players could consider pulling for this to have a plug and play AoE resistance card for literally any team because it's not affected by any element. If you put this into a team, any of your units will get AoE resistance. I know that it's not necessarily something that looks very glamorous that people might not want to pull on, but it is worth considering as a new player because you will use this card a lot and it will help you kind of make some rainbow teams in the short term when you're still trying to build up your teams. Let's move on to the end of April where we're going to see a Warrior of Crystals rerun specifically for Ranan and Cetia. They'll both get Transcendence upgrades and they're pretty good. So Ranan gets some added magic and AoE resistance. His barrier break now becomes a choose 2 attack with a large damage modifier. It's going to be a very effective attack and he'll be a very strong unit, especially if you're not attacking evasion teams. We can also look at Cetia, who gets initial AP 15, 20 defense penetration, and then thermal exposure is going to reduce the crit evasion of the people being attacked, but also increase her crit rate. So it's going to become an even more powerful skill. It's going to enable her crit build even more. If you put the Thornlet on her to get that agility down, that will be very effective. And initial AP is just so strong, especially for archer ranged units. This is a really big upgrade. I'm a massive fan as Cetia as a unit, so I'm very much excited for this upgrade. We should also be getting the Full Metal Alchemist collaboration this week, and we can start by looking at Edward, who is a free 90 cost wind unit, so we'll get him free. He'll come in your inbox, although in JP he did come on a 10-shot summon. That's too bad we don't get those in global. He's a strike attacker, he's very fast, he's very strong against pierce and slash attacks. We're talking about 62% resistance on his kit alone before you add any Espers, vision cards, or equipment. And there are things that will supplement this even more. You could easily get to very high levels with this. He also has a 100% choose 2 attack, very strong, a barrier break, a strike imperil, which is very good considering that a lot of units have negative strike resistance. So when you hit a person with a strike imperil or any type of imperil, it can take their resistances into the negative. If they're already in the negative, they become even more negative. So this is a big deal. He also has a pretty big defense break. He's got a pierce attack and the rest of his attacks are strike and then very decent HP, some good AoE resistance, all around a very, very solid free unit that will help you build a strike team. We also have Alphonse coming out, who is a 90 cost lightning unit. He is a banner unit, so you must pull for him with your Visior. He's an innate hate tank, so he's just going to have a lot of hate innately, but won't be able to generate it himself. He's also a strike attacker, although he does have that 1 pierce attack similar to Edward. He has a very low attack stat, although he can buff it in certain ways and buff his defense penetration as well, but he's not meant to be a damage dealer. He's also very strong against slash and pierce, and that's kind of a theme for these Full Metal Alchemist units. He has potential very high defense and also elemental chain resistance to be able to resist against those chain attacks, which right now fire is doing a lot of, with a lot of chaining potential. He's got a 100% hit as well. He does not have any courage or re-raise, which is kind of a bummer as a tank, but he does have some really good utility, including an AoE barrier break that will also have a very big attack break, 60% attack reduction to the target, but also a 25% agility break, and it has a 100% counter chance reduction, so people cannot reflex out of this. It's a really good skill. Barrier breaks are very powerful, and it's not common to have an AoE barrier break, so this is a big deal. If he's a tank, people come to him, and as they're attacking him, he can then take out multiple, or not take out multiple, but set them up to be taken out by your team. His limit burst also has a very modest AP cost. It's in the 30s. It's 2 hits. It has a 50% self-attack buff, but it also has a 67% chance to slow, which is an absolute game changer. If you land slow on somebody, and again, people are coming to him as a tank, it can really swing a match. So he looks like a very solid lightning unit. He looks like a very solid fist unit, and if you're in that element, or if you're in that weapon type, then he's an easy pickup for your account. We also get a vision card this week. You'll have to pull for it with FFVIIR, and it can be used by spear users, fist, and then the staff users in the devout group. It has bestowed slash and pierce resistance by 10%, adding to that theme for these Full Metal Alchemist units. It also has 18% agility, 16% single target resistance, and then 35 strike attack. This is a no-brainer for fist parties. It's also just really good for these other weapon types, but they are less developed as job VCs go. So basically, if you're going to be pulling for any fist units and using a fist-centric team, you have to pull for this vision card because it is limited. And if you are going into any of those other weapons in the future, you will want this one as well, just because the agility is just so good. We are now moving into the month of May, and we'll start with the first week, which is Roy, Light Sterne, and the Roy VC. So Roy Mustang is a 90 cost fire unit. He's a glove user. He's a magic attacker with very high accuracy. He has 30% increased hit chance moves. He's just got a high luck stat. He's got accuracy on his kit innately in multiple places. He also has good AoE resistance and an all damage barrier, so a bit of survivability baked in, but not a ton. His TP will increase his damage just like Summer Helena, and he has a TP buff as well that makes all of his attacks Dispel Courage. He has no cast times on his main job, and he has multiple chaining skills as well as a fire imperil, so he's going to be a very strong PvE unit as well. He's got very solid penetration for the most part too, so I think that he's going to be a very good attacker with high accuracy, but he won't be the most durable attacker. You will want some cover for him. Then we have the 100 cost Light Sterne, and he is going to be a regular pool unit. You don't have to worry about him if you're only going for limited units. He is a really interesting unit in that he has a lot of bulk, but also a very high attack stat. He's got reflex, he's got re-raise, and he can dispel re-raise. He's got very good accuracy. Again, these units all have good accuracy. He's got a limit burst that gives himself haste, which is always very strong. He's got slash pen on his attack skill, but nothing innately, so that's a bit of a concerned area. But he also has a non-elemental slash barrier break, so he can kind of hit through light resistance if people are stacking that. All around, he looks like a strong unit, but he does look like somebody you can skip unless you're a die-hard light fan and you really want to build up your units. Otherwise, I think you just try to get him later. We also have the Keeper of the Brotherhood Vision card, which is going to be primarily for Roy. We'll see some global upgrades for Roy, I'm sure. And the users for this are Sword Red Mage, which is a very popular group that's coming together with a lot of support, and it's going to include several upcoming units. So it is a very important card for many units. And it also includes bow users, Ninja Blade, and Glove. So I like that because we see that we have multiple Ninja Blade fire users plus glove users in Revelka and Roy, so many people that can use this in a fire mono fire team. The bestowed effect is going to be 20% magic and 8 critical rate. The party effect is 24 pierce resistance. It has 28 magic attack penetration, resistance penetration, and then 25 critical rate. So really solid card. Again, these cards are always pushed. It really depends on whether or not you like these jobs, and if you don't, then you don't have to pull for this, but always be cautious as it is a limited card. And with these non-FF collabs, we just don't know if they'll ever come back. Moving into week 2 of May, we have the most anticipated Full Metal Alchemist unit, which is King Bradley. He looks so good. We also have a Full Metal Alchemist raid that comes with a free vision card and then Dark Bahamut. So we'll talk about all of those now. So Bradley is a 100 cost Earth unit. He is an amazing TMR. It's 2 uses, haste, and then reaction block 50%. The TMR also has agility and accuracy. It has everything that you need, and it's an accessory, so everybody can use it. He also has high resistances. In particular, he has a very high 30% innate missile resistance. He's got high agility with an agility passive. He's got HP, he's got attack, and he's got accuracy. He has reflex, but also has an 80% counter, just like Sephiroth, and he has a 2-use courage. He can dispel re-raise, he can break barriers, and he can just dispel buffs in general. He's got high in defense and slash attack resistance penetration, and he even has some evasion potential, but he is not primarily an evade unit. He also has a lot of chaining moves. He's got multiple moves that restore his own CT so he can go even faster. All around, he's going to be a very, very strong PvE and PvP unit, and a very strong pull for anybody that wants to use sword units and anybody that's going to be playing the earth element. We can also look at this free raid VC. You just have to participate in the raid, get the rare raid up to level 5, and you will acquire this vision card and then some quests in which you'll be able to get the fragments for. So the users for this are Sword Knight, the Fist users, and then Mace users. Fist and Mace are very well supported groups, and this is a good vision card for them. So bestowed 10% attack and then increase agility 5%. The party effect is critical rate 30%, critical damage 20%, and increase attack 50%. That is a slam dunk of party effects to be able to get crit rate and crit damage on the same party effect, but also a massive 50% attack boost is very, very strong, and this is a great free handout card. It's very nice that they're giving us these to help this whole concept of job-based vision cards get along, and everybody should be building this while they have the chance. Next up, we have the Dark Bahamut Esper and Vision card. It's a dark and light vision card, so only those units will be able to get the effects from the bestowed and party abilities. So the bestowed is 10% attack and 10 AoE resistance. It's solid but not remarkable. The party effect is 35 slash attack, increase acquired AP 25%, and then increase AoE resistance 15%. To be honest, this is not the most glamorous card around. I will say the Esper is very strong, and it always is good to get AoE resistance. I think they could have pushed this to 20 AoE resistance and they wouldn't have done anything wrong there. It's kind of underwhelming that it's less than that. It's still very strong though. I personally do not pull for Dark VC Esper combinations, with one exception, which was Dark Ifrit, and that was because I was going all into fire. Otherwise, I skip all of these because they have a very high pity that you have to pull for, and I just wouldn't recommend it to most players unless you're willing to suffer or to spend. The Esper is very good for Dark Bahamut. It's got great stats, 19 agility. There's a 25% attack on the nodes. There's 7 initial AP, which you know we speak very highly about. There's 25 human killer and then 15 crit damage, and there's some other nodes as well. So it's a very solid Esper, and I'm sure that if you're lucky enough to get this, even if you don't build the VC right away, you're still getting a very good Esper that you can equip to your units. We now move into the 3rd week of May, and we have Raegan coming out, who is a 100 cost ice unit, but is a standard pool unit, not limited. He is very strong against slash and strike, and that is interesting because there's going to be so many strike units coming out that to have somebody that's actually strong against them with a high strike resistance is going to be a big deal. Raegan also has a specific counter that has a 70% chance to happen, but it will only happen against slash and strike attacks. It reduces the slash and strike damage by 20%. He also is an ice unit that has 2 fire attacks on his kit, which is thematic to him as a character from FFBE. He has courage that has 2 uses, and he also has the below 50% HP restore and healing power up on his own kit, so he can heal a lot with that. He can buff the ice, wind, and dark resistance of your party by 25%, and he has very solid penetrations. He has an agility break, he can dispel haste and protect, he has acquired AP up, but also AP consumption down. He has multiple chaining skills and will be good for PvE. He's all around a very strong 100 cost unit, but he is non-limited, so some people will not be pulling for him. It depends if you're really into ice or if you're really into the sword red mage job cards and you want to build a party around that. In week 4 of May, we're going to see the Raegan VC come out. This is a Sword Red Mage, Sword Knight, and Gun Users Vision card. It has increased attack 10%, increased AoE resistance 10 on the bestowed. Does that seem familiar? It's the same as the Dark Bahamut bestowed. They're not very creative here, but the party effect is very interesting. We've got increased elemental chain resistance 36, 20 critical damage, and 20 slash resistance. So very good effects for this group, and definitely something that you would get again if you're interested in these different job types. If you're not going into Sword Red Mage though, I do think that you're probably going to skip this, although the critical damage 20 is very interesting for gun classes, as they are often critical hit units, but still it's probably a very easy vision card for a lot of players to skip. In this final week, we're also going to get a Warrior of the Crystals rerun for Jeume, Velis, and Astrius. So these are 3 very strong units that new players might actually be interested in. Jeume is a very strong physical tank and is a wind unit that I think that if you're into that element, then is a no-brainer that you should pick up. She also has one of the best TMRs in the game that is very commonly used by a lot of tanks. Her upgrades just give her more survivability overall and add a little bit of utility to her kit. She's still a very strong tank. When we look at Velis, he got everything that he could need. He's already one of the best healers in the game, if not the best healer in the game. One of the good things about Velis is that you can put him into any sort of party at all. He doesn't have to be in an ice team. You can put him in pretty much any team. He can heal your allies, he can restore their AP, he can give them haste as well as himself haste, and now his healing ability, which heals and will actually give you some AP, will also increase your agility 25%. That is just so strong. He got some more survivability. He got more cast time reduction so he can get his heals off before he is killed. He is honestly just a huge unit. Someone that I pulled later after he came out, and I have not regretted it for a single day since I got him, even though I had to spend quite a bit of Visior to get him. And then we have Astrius, who's a little bit easier to skip because he is a DPS unit, and there are plenty of DPS units out there, but don't get me wrong, he is a very good DPS unit. Now, he is a water katana unit. You could be using him in a katana party with Sephiroth down the road, but you could also use him in a water party to counter fire evasion. He does have a 100% hit attack, but his Transcendence actually gives him 15% accuracy and then 15% slash resistance, and I assume this is part of the way that they're going to help him counter fire evasion. He also gets an upgrade to his EX break skill that will give him some restored CT upon use, but also 40% slash resist penetration, giving him the ability to deal even higher amounts of damage. So he's definitely a strong unit. I'm not as high on new players pulling for him unless they're specifically targeting katana units or water units. Otherwise, I think he's a safe skip for everybody else. So that's going to be it for our preview video, but there's more to come after these 6 weeks. There's actually quite a bit of really good things on the horizon. There are about 3 weeks of slower releases, but then we go right back into it with a Final Fantasy VI collaboration rerun, as well as a new unit, Kefka, who is a fire magic glove user. We get more 100 costs down the road, and we do get eventually a very strong dark tank in Raph, who I made a video about. So lots to look forward to. I will cover those weeks in a future preview video, but for now, this should get you through the Full Metal Alchemist collab and help you plan out a little bit. So now you can let me know if I was able to help you out with this video, if you have plans of your own, who you're willing to spend on and who you're going to be skipping. And I'm curious to know if anyone has advice for new players on these units that I've mentioned today, because maybe there's going to be some things that I didn't think about. Either way, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you all soon in another video.